Oh my gosh, we are live. Holy cow, this is going to be a great episode. The power of politics with my special guest, Dion. Uh, you know, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. All right, if you told me already, I don't remember.
Dion Powell. But this right here
Oh,
is my little promotional stuff at consultant.us for, my shameless
Maru.
plug.
Nice, nice, awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to start off with an introduction, then we'll describe the structure of the show, and then we're just going to dive on in. Holy cow. I am Jonathan Geyer. Noteworthy notes. I helped implement a health information exchange for the state of Minnesota, and I did it while I was stationed here in St. Cloud, VA. In that opportunity, I was able to drink a cup of coffee with 30 some odd thousand veterans. I bring that up every episode. Why? Because it changed how I think, right? Like how I will respond, how I'm this flamboyant hand throwing came from all these conversations, right? On the second side, or another noteworthy note, I coach a boxing class here locally. We maxed out we maxed out how many kids we could take in. So then we started putting it on online. I figured similar to church service, we could stream it. Like that's yeah. When my wife and I can't go to church, we watch it at home. Well, we started doing this with our boxing channel, and it turned out to be a big deal. We are crossing 400,000 views. People from around the world are watching our classes, and it's very similar to this conversational style that I'm describing right now. Oh my gosh, Dion, you're up.
Thanks for having me, brother. So I'm Dion Powell here in the Bronx, New York, on the East Coast. I'm a consultant, as you can see from my little thing here. If you need a consultant, hit me up. That'd be great. I'm from the political realm where my bread and butter comes from in politics. I tell these young people, like your boxing students, that the reason why politics is the number one thing for me is that the most powerful tool the man has is the ability to create and change the rules.
Yes,
So then stems the economic development, the criminal justice, the reproductive whatever, and then so forth. And you could be a billionaire in China, but still get thrown in jail if you don't have any influence or control over the government and its systems. So today, I'm with this fine gentleman here because during the 2020 lockdown, I decided to invest in myself in a governmental contracting course. And I saw this guy on Facebook named Randy Wimmer. And I said, hey, maybe I can use this political stuff because I used to work for the New York State Assembly or how to navigate to make some money as a consultant in the realm of, small businesses, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, special interest groups, which I kind of did anyway. So one thing that Randy said, or both of our instructors, was that the federal government is the number one contractor in the world.
yes, sir.
And he said the other thing that struck me too was that you may hate all the wasteful spending that our government does unless it's on you. Then you won't really mind. And I was like, wow, this guy's a genius. So I came into his open house. It was online because of lockdown. And I asked him some technical questions. I was still, playing with SAM.gov and researching. And he he's like a professor in the sense that he took my question, answered it, and then brought it back home to me in the sense that I would have more questions and yearn to know more because I met someone finally at the top of the mountain that not only knows that stuff, but can impart something to help me.
Can
So
articulate it.
yes. And then so I took this course and me and Randy were poor and he comes from poverty. I come from poverty and we found commonalities. And he was like, Dion, you're very good at capture management. You know how to navigate the governmental systems to find out who's who and what's what through your network in order to get something done. And, you're a minority, veterans, you know how to get all these qualifications. So that should be your wheelhouse. And so from then, I brought in another student named Reggie, who and then the knowledge I imparted.
Awesome.
Yeah, Reggie. He's a service-able veteran Marine that I've helped out here in New York to get his business certifications with Randy and, impart upon that. In the political realm, I run for office. I ran for office last year. As a matter of fact, for the New York State Assembly, I got 16,000 votes doing nothing with the whole red wave, if you want to call it the Trump train and that kind of stuff. I'm a former Democrat, if we could talk politics here, because it's not a nonprofit, hopefully. And I am part of the Bronx Conservative Party. I'm a district leader. We're the official swing vote of the Bronx, hopefully. thanks to our initiatives last year and going into the projects, educating people on the voter registration form, that there are more than two political parties. We got people re-registered in our third party, and we actually helped propel the first Republican city council victory in the Bronx, the bluest county in America, 1.1 million Democrats to victory. So we're the first Republican in 40 years city council here in the Bronx, New York, thanks to our efforts. Another claim to fame of mine is that last year in 2023, thanks to our interviews going viral in the Bronx on Newsmax with Cara Castronuova, the young Republican showed it to President Trump at the time, and he loved it so much, he made a big announcement. I'm coming to New York City, and I'm coming to the Bronx. I'm coming to Madison Square Garden, and this is 2023. So it snowballed, and sure enough, the president came to the Bronx, not once, but twice. Once to our park, which was packed with like 10,000, 15,000 people in the South Bronx, and also in a barbershop in Castle Hill, where like Jennifer Lopez is from, So that was always fun.
The Bronx.
Yeah, the Bronx. And we're the poorest county in America, yet always the most bluest, most Democratic county in America. But people like even AOC, the opportunists can't see the correlation of being the poor, minority, disadvantaged, and always being the most Democratic, the monopoly, and how that's hurt us so much long term. Except for people like me, who are minority, people of color, black, brown, whatever. And to bring it back home to this episode, hopefully we'll give you the civics tools, which is government and politics meet community together, civics, education, and engagement to help you and your business and your life.
Oh, I like it. That was nice. Well, speaking of structure of the show, I asked my guests to come up with a deep thought. So I asked Dion to come up with a deep thought, and his response was, "What are you talking about?" Right? I don't remember how you say it, but that's the average response. And then we went back and forth, and really it's anything. Like it's the floor is open. I want to empower our guests to talk about something they're comfortable with. My only requirement is that's deep. And the power of politics. Holy cow. When you came back with that, I got goosebumps. It's like, oh my gosh, that's going to be a good one. Yeah, so nice work on that.
Nice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Structure of the show. We are going to go through and read a paragraph at a time. And I asked Dion ahead of time to interrupt me. Like, I'm just going to keep reading as kind of a setup, like set the stage for a good conversation. But if he's got something good to say, jump in and say it. The article doesn't that much. It's just, it's like a template for conversation more than anything else. Oh, and another noteworthy note. I wrote this article without talking to Dion. He gave me the power of politics, that title, and then I winged it from there. That's on purpose. Yeah, strategically, because I didn't talk to Dion, my take might be different than his. I'm kind of hoping it is, or two dimensions is how I'm a visual thinker, but I'm picturing in different dimensions. You have my perspective and I have his perspective, and the overlay on top of that makes for a robust conversation. It's going to be awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm going to dive right into it. The Power of Politics with special guest Dion Powell. Dion and I met through a mutual government contracting connection, which he just spoke to, right before the last election. The timing is both coincidental and awesome. Dion knows more about the presidential transition process than I do, and I find our conversations fascinating. Oh my gosh, I don't remember how we got on the presidential transition conversation. But oh my gosh, you mentioned some stuff I've never heard of before, or at least in the lower level details. It's I remember how, I don't remember what you said, but I remember how it felt. And I think I say fascinating. Oh yeah, I say fascinating in there. It's super interesting. I picture like the mechanics of presidential transition. That's how it's playing out in my mind. Super interesting. If you can elaborate some.
Okay, good, bro. Thanks a lot. So that's the thing, the mechanics of it. Someone actually said that about me as a consultant. They say, Dion, these election lawyers know their stuff on paper in a courtroom, but you're like the mechanic. You know the mechanics of this. And like a mechanic, people need to have a good mechanic they can trust so they get take advantage of. And you're that guy. Because like the colleagues I know personally who got screwed over by Kamala Harris's campaign and getting paid, I knew that was always going to be one big cash grab, money grab. When they raised that $1 billion, they had the PAC money. And now Lily Lee is really exposing them for what they are. Yes, so that's what in politics is hard to find. Trust, love, loyalty, respect. And if you can find those items in politics, in the swamp, it helps you out. Now, this is when I throw the ball back to you, Brother Geyer, and in which are you allowed to share your screen for other information? For example, if we pull up the Trump transition, would you like to share that or no? You don't do that.
Oh my gosh. My last guest asked the same thing. I haven't figured out how to do it. I'm going to skew against the extra complication.
Then I'll just put it out there. I'm going to empower you with the tools like a bad consultant, give you some free consultation here. Well, when you go to your search engine, you're going to pull up Trump Vance transition, and then it's going to say Serve America. So when you go to Trump Vance transition and you search that and Serve America, you should get a portal to put your application. Now,
this is the one that you sent to me.
I sent it to you, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, I remember. Yep.
Yeah. So hopefully people will follow my word and I'll speak slowly and clearly. But also, you should look up another tab and look at the Plum database. So the Plum report. P as in Peter, LUM, like the fruit. Plum data report. And there you'll see over 8,000 political appointments you can be, from ambassador to legal aid to a board member giving advice and making six figures. So look into those things as well. Now, the mechanics of politics is that all politics is local. For example, Brother Guy, do you know who your local sheriff is or who the president of your school board is? Those are the intricacies, like your city council person, your legislative representative, are names you should know, and they're hidden in plain sight, that they don't really educate you more. So like they had a lot of veterans in government, like your John Kerrys, and you had your USS Grants. But then when they figured out, wait a minute, veterans don't make good politicians because they have too many headaches. With an uneducated mass is easier to control than an educated populace. So they had to consistently make sure these civic education tools weren't in your face anymore. So now that we have a new administration, 45, 47, what do? These are the things I encourage people to apply for, especially all the black people and the liberals who always complain about, oh, look at this evil Donald Trump. He's going to eat us alive. Well, you have to be a part of the conversation. You have to at least apply yourself. The reason why things are so bad now is because it has to deal with social emotional learning. And I'll touch upon school choice, which is going to try to stop social emotional learning, but people put feelings above the facts, which is not good. So the presidential transition, the first paragraph is just go to those two websites, look at it, apply yourself, and see what the over 8,000 political appointments are and who are there now, what's vacant and why. And, January 20th is coming up, the Monday, when the man's hand hasn't even touched the Bible yet, but so many things are being done. Back to you, John.
Oh my gosh. You sent me that website and I've never heard of that before. I've never seen it before. And you elaborated a little bit, or you explained it a little. I'm going to ask that you explain it again. Like, I've already heard your explanation and I still don't fully have my mind wrapped around it. So every time there's a presidential transition, what's this site called again? It's the Plum report.
Right, the Plum report, Plum database, PLUM, Plum data, Plum report, whatever you want to call it. This website has a report because, in government, we have to be overly transparent. It's just that we hide things in plain sight. So it's hard to find these things. Once you go to the Plum database, you see all those people, how much their salaries are. Do they have to be approved by the Senate or not? And that kind of thing. But yes, there's also another website called presidentialtransition.org. Ooh, I think I got that one right. Presidentialtransition.org is a nonprofit that actually monitors the presidential transitions all the way back to, I think, Eisenhower, and who's in place, how the president will do it, from everybody who moves in and takes out the furniture on day one. Those guys that behind the realm you don't see, they exist, but those opportunities are there. And how nepotism and cronyism kicks in. Because a lot of people think those words are evil because the media makes them seem evil, but no, nepotism and cronyism are natural concept. You have the Geyer MIT Alumni Scholarship. Of course, you want your son to have the Geyer MIT Scholarship because you went to MIT. That's nepotism. Now, cronyism is this. Wow, Dion, you went to Government Contracting Academy. I went to Government Contracting Academy. You know what? Let me throw you this job or this contract because you're my buddy. That's cronyism. It's natural. But then when it's done for evil and exploitation, then you can use those terms to be evil. Next, that Donald Trump, he's giving all his friends and family jobs here in the government. Oh my goodness. But no, it can be used for great good or great evil, like here in New York City, where our mayor is constantly having people resign left and right and have the feds and indictments because he put all his friends and family in place. So it's give and take. And those are the little tools you have to do you to find out? Because everybody's like, oh, the government is the source of all our life's problems. But me, I was trained to go like this. Well, what are you doing? Now that I'm giving you the tools necessary to get involved, you only have one person to blame, but yourself, and you have to actually go beyond voting. Some people vote and expect the world to be a better place, but this is not a spectator sport like boxing. You have to be involved in the teamwork effort. Because the person that rings the bell from the person that has to order the boxing gloves. You know, there are two people in the ring, but who's controlling the lights, the camera, the marketing? You guys have to be more active instead of just like, wow, I can't wait to see a nice 80-year-old Mike Tyson fight this young MMA guy in the ring. Let's see who wins.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to skip over it. I'm going to skip over
that triggered you?
Oh my gosh. So you touched, I was active listening. Let's see if I can remember what popped into my head there. You know, I'm a visual thinker, and what I was picturing was like a baseline. You speak to, I forget which label you slapped on it, but like hiring your friends or hiring people you know and all this.
Nepotism and cronyism.
Yep,
That's the word.
Yep. So apply that to baseline, and you pointed out how it sounds negative. It's got a negative label, and it could be negative. You know, the world is perception is probabilistic, right? Like it's a negative and positive at the same time, always. My thought, the baseline wise, like, let me think if I can think of a good way to explain it. How can you not do that? Like to put a bad label on it, like there's a better option. Like, oh my gosh, what?
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, brother. Let me give it to you this way. Some of the things politically people want to vote on to take away the nepotism and cronyism is to basically have job applications based on social security number, for example. Vivek Ramaswamy with Elon Musk and their Department of Governmental Efficiency, they're very good at these algorithms and big egghead stuff, in which if people have a social security number that ending an odd number, you know, their resumes go over here. People whose social security numbers in an even number, their resume goes over here, without any DEI discriminatory preferences. So now on paper, again, you went to MIT, you have a certification. It's all going based off merit. How high were your test scores? You know, what was your hobby? And then miraculously you get the job, and then surprise, surprise, you're this person. You're actually a woman that's 5'8" and speaks 3 languages. Like, wow, this is great. Because you just check off a lot of blank boxes. I don't know this person, they're here. But then again, the problem with that is you have no rapport. You may have references, but it's like you want to have a mask everything. Like justice is supposed to be blind and not be able to see those qualifications and qualities about a human person. But another thing with voting, some people believe that we should remove political parties from the ballot and just leave names on it and let people pick the names. Or maybe we should just do it by candidate number 1, 2, or 3 and just base it off the information we provide about the candidate's qualifications, work history, education, and that kind of stuff, and policy proposals and what they've done, and let them vote that way to make people more educated. But again, in this society, it's more feelings over facts and not facts over feelings, and that would break the nepotism and cronyism. But then again, it's very natural. Even if you have blank slate people coming into office and governmental processes, the worst animal in the world is humans. So human instincts have another concept from politics called quid pro quo, meaning a favor for a favor. So I could come into the job, hey, Jonathan, how you doing, man? Yeah, we're having sandwiches today. You want a sandwich? Sure, that's great. Then next thing you know, hey, Dion, we're going out for steaks after. We're going, sure, why not? Then slowly and progressively, down years go by, like, man, I really messed up here. We got a nice contract here, and so-and-so got fired. Why don't we just switch that line out of the budget to me? I'm gonna do his job anyway. All right, John, let's keep this between ours. Let's do a little straight can agreement, and on the same term, kick me back a little 10% of that cut because I'm taking care of you on the back end. Then that's the quid pro quo behind the scenes that we all could have came in by social security number and by everything on paper. We had no idea who we were, but then as humans, we built a rapport with the quid pro quo. The next thing you know, well, my friend's social security number is so-and-so, let HR know to put his resume on the top of the stack. And that's how, the humans and humanity ruin everything.
Oh my gosh. We did not plan this ahead of time, and holy cow, you just stepped into my wheelhouse of measuring perception. Non-bias is bias. right? Like to make something non-biased, well, then you're biased towards non-bias. Like it is a paradoxical situation. Those trying to eliminate bias from information, they don't understand how perception works. Perception is bias. Like you view the world based on your childhood, and that childhood is unique to you. So whatever you're perceiving is unique to you as an individual. Like once you start massaging the data to get non-biased, well, yeah, I can't fully explain how it applies, but it feels like a communism kind of thing. Like uh, all systems of order move towards disorder. Communism never works. It never has worked.
Right.
And you speak
Each according to his own will. You know, Adam Smith, John Locke, and those people that you have to learn about in history class and economics classes. They all try to create a unique political economic environment in which each person gets paid according to the work that they do in subcategories, and the government has a lot of control over the systems in place. Whereas capitalism kind of disagrees with that. But on that same token, we can transition into what you said here about it's not a majority rule, and how when we come here, we get away from that communism and socialism and democracy per se, and go straight into what a republic is. And one of the things I learned in history classes after the John Locke and the laissez-faires and stuff like that is that America is actually based on a republic structure off a document called the Constitution.
Republic.
Some people call it Constitutional Republic, etc. And the whole class was in an uproar. And his name is Mr. Rivlin. And this guy was like, you have one of those teachers in high school, college, whatever, that just brings it out. You like, I love school now. He said, all right, guys, this is our democracy, right? Okay, well, I want everybody in this class to stand up right now and say the Pledge of Allegiance. So think about it, John. If you stood up right now and said the Pledge of Allegiance, what's the contract we have with this country? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And, John?
To the republic?
There you go.
Under one nation.
Yeah.
One nation, yeah.
God. Anyway, so this is why having the children not recite the Pledge of Allegiance hurts with the civic education and engagement, and that's what's being reversed right now. And it's a representative government. And recently, with the presidential transition, we have to look at when people argue to their black in the face that this is a democracy. Say no, this is a republic. Otherwise, we wouldn't have something called the Electoral College. And that's how the president would have won anyway. But we have something called a majority vote in the country. You got popular vote. That's the popular vote, means everybody. So the reason why the Electoral College, explained to me by Mr. Rivlin, exists is because we don't want cities like New York and LA and Chicago determining the president of the United States based off mass population. We want to make sure, thanks to the Senate, again, the Senate is another mechanism why it's not a democracy, where every state gets 2 senators, and then Electoral College is based off population, which is the amount of House representatives for Congress. And so that helps balances out and protects the minority people in, let's say, Idaho, who are concerned about the agriculture, which is a priority, respect them, as opposed to, let's say, mass transit problems in New York with congestion pricing in our subway. Why should we have our votes in a country based on our issues here in New York when we should get there take Idaho's issues in consideration? So that's how a republic, and we get rid of the mob mentality and groupthink of a democracy.
Oh my gosh, the older I get, the more patriotic I'm getting. And what you just touched on, holy cow, like I am, well, maybe I'm saddened that more people don't catch this, but it's kind of challenging. Like it makes sense that that more people don't catch it. Like there's a bunch of information blocks required to appreciate why the mitigation strategies like the Electoral College and what you were just speaking to, the mitigation to one high populous city dominating the rest of the country. Like our founders solved for that. Like, and then empathetically walking in their shoes, what was going on in their mind when they were thinking of how. First off, they thought that we need to solve it. They didn't just leave it alone. They didn't just say good enough. They figured we need to solve it. What was going on in their mind when they were thinking, hey, we don't want this high population city to dominate everything? You know what I mean? Like it's God, I'm trying to think of a less cheesy word, but it's beautiful. Like it is awesome. It is speaking of engineering and the mechanics, like it is a beautiful machine. Like in all its flaws, all the things people, cry about, complain about, like, oh my gosh, try to do something better, right? Like
Exactly. I'll
it's
give you a
great.
case. I'll give you a case in point. And this will hopefully take us to the media propaganda machine, in which I'm not sure how it works in Minnesota, but in New York we have something
It's
called
cold.
Yeah, it's cold too. But guess what? Every year we have the same cycle. And whoever breaks the chain, the people will run out of town if you break that monotony of complaints. For example, in New York, we have a problem called potholes. And if you're a driver, you should know what a pothole is. Now, every winter it gets cold, and we know every winter potholes are created because of what? Rain, sleet, and snow. And they develop and they become these monstrous potholes. That's always a problem for drivers if you have a car. Hopefully not in New York. Now, every year we know it's going to become potholes. So what we do is we always try to adjust the budget to do what? Pay for potholes. And then sometimes somebody comes along and realizes like, hey, wait a minute. Instead of wasting all this money for potholes, all this big government spending, why don't we all just get together and make sure we keep the roads in one type of material that just can't be breaking and have this whole industry ruined by always spending money every year for potholes. So you're driving along, it's like, wow, every year the road is smoother. But the problem with government is that, we're not designed to fix problems, only to exacerbate and pour more money in. And that's why this administration is so dangerous. Because you see, I make it very local for you. Something as simple as a pothole and all administrative costs and what goes on to that and the popular vote. It's like, no. So I said to say, let's take the United States Constitution. They made it in such a way it could be amended and adjustable. But because of majority democracy groupthink, let's take reproductive rights. Oh my God, I love abortion, right? But I said, well, if all these people are serious about abortion, they will collectively get together and try to amend the United States Constitution to codify forever and for whatever month you want. But there's no money in that. And it's very difficult in a republic to have a majority to amend the United States Constitution. You have to get at least 32 states involved with that process. And then after those 32 states, you got to get 3/4 of the Congress to actually vote on it. You have to get so many consensus of so many different states' personalities. It's hard. But every year, just like the pothole, we got to raise a lot of money, y'all. Let's hit the streets. We got to fight for our freedoms, women's rights. And every cycle, it keeps on going and going. And then you have your Supreme Court. But thanks to this president, he's put up there a lot of conservative judges. So now they want to change the rules of the Supreme Court to have term limits, and they want to stack the court with more people. But if you keep with the majority rule, if that goes into the wrong political hands, it still will be detrimental, to majority. But again, they always talk about executive branch and Congress, but these mechanisms are in place. But again, if we got together and used our Constitution and these government systems to work, the country might be in a better place and people will be more educated instead of just, one issue feel good based.
Oh my gosh. We are in our last 2 minutes, and what you just closed with, or your last sentence, there's a perfect segue to this last paragraph, which you mentioned earlier. And this is kind of like a separate thought, but one I believe that we should point out here. Most don't catch it. I picture most of what I see on TV and most newsworthy news like a person looking at their cell phone and accidentally stepping out into traffic. The easy to see stuff right in front of us is not the most important. This is a measurement bias. The politics on TV is easy to see. In real life, the important, most significant functions of politics are not easy to see. Not on TV. This is super interesting. And my colleagues, my kids, the people I talk to on the streets, this is it's a very deep, speaking of deep thoughts, this is a very deep concept. What you see is not the most important stuff. You can't see the most important stuff, but intuitively, cognitive bias wise, we are focused on what's easy to see and we skip over everything else, right? Like it's, yeah. We're in our last 50 seconds here, and I'm going to give it to you, but speak on this one a bit. It is a big deal.
Oh, well, that's why this platform and your show is so important, because TV is going to be yesterday's news because the propaganda and people seeing the same emotional, inflammatory things is worn off. And now the TVs are in the power in our hand. What are you in control of? Which is this. We're making our own narratives, putting our own stuff out there. Now, it's also visual, like you said. So I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever seen that movie, Blazing Saddles?
Yes, sir. Awesome.
So then here we go.
I mentioned Mel Brooks in my last one too. Yeah.
And I'll end by saying this. Excuse me while I whip this out.
Oh my gosh. Are we gonna close with that? You know what? No, we are at a time. I have this thing, a new tradition. One closing sentence, one final thought you would like to give our audience to end the show.
All right. I encourage everybody next cycle to run for office, see how you run for office, and just do it on paper. Because once you start running for office and seeing what's out there and how you touch things, then your eyes will be open to this hidden realm of ours. You'll try to see all the tricks of the trade and how the media plays. But I encourage you to either run for your school board or your town council, or, see what's going on behind the curtain just by getting yourself or someone who may be qualified, a lawyer, to help them run for judge. How do you run for judges? Judges are elected. And just keep digging, asking questions. Once you run for office, your eyes will start to crack open.
I like it. Oh my gosh. This was a great episode. I'm going to end it. Holy cow. Thank you for coming on. Very cool.